Hello developers, and anyone else who might be watching. I'm trying something new here, and taking a stab at making a video, specifically a showcase, review, and feedback video. So let's get into it. This is GolfTopia, developed by MinMax Games. I'll be talking about certain aspects of it, assuming you know about the game, but if not, it's a laid-back, golf design, building, and management style game. I think it's a lovely little gem, and I suggest you play it if you don't know what I'm talking about in the video. As this is my first video, this is going to be a little bit all over the place, so I've gone ahead and split this up into chapters. The first part, a showcase, just taking you around the island I built. It's complete self-indulgence, unscripted, just, hey, look at this cool thing I made, and that's something that I think GolfTopia allows. The next part is a review and feedback. I'll go into a possibly overly detailed breakdown review of the game's systems. I'll talk about things that I like, I'll talk about things that are mixed, and I'll say things that missed for me. These are all in relation to my preferences, so if you don't agree with some of these takes, then maybe you're just a different player. These are just things that relate to my playstyle. Lastly, I'll go over some wishes I have for the game, some big and small features that I'd love added to the game. Here I'll talk about some of the suggestions that I might have for, things that missed for me. Okay, that's the intro. Stop. So, welcome to my island. This is going to be the showcase of what I built. This is called the Quadrupedal Chimera course, because I think there's 4 main sections. So I'll take you through as a golfer might coming here for the first time. This is the clubhouse. Let's zoom in. So as you spawn in, or fly in from, the spaceship up there, you're greeted with some nice fountains. Off to the right here, I like to imagine that there's a little open area for club activities, like maybe outdoor barbecue, who knows? Anyways, come down behind the clubhouse, and here's the putting green. Nice little section where each point gets more challenging. Fan of that. Here's the driving range, kind of hit the targets. I guess if you're not at the level where your ball doesn't roll, you can use this one here on the left. I only really played disc golf, and I've never played ball golf before, so maybe that's obvious. Maybe it's not, I don't know. Things that I call moving from right to left, I'm calling hyzer. Like a right-handed backhand disc golfer, because I played a lot of disc golf, and anhyzer for the other way. I think it's called like slice and fade, but anhyzer, hyzer. That's the terms I know. Anyways, that's the driving range. I wish I had another putting green, but nope, just one. That's fine. And here behind the clubhouse, we have a little bar, so you can look out at the vast, endless ocean. Nice. Cool amenities behind the clubhouse. But let's play some golf. So, moving along, we've got the hoverboard rentals next to the clubhouse off to hole 1, which is a cool down the valley shot. Name of the hole, down the valley, a par 4. I've also added a little cart paths and alternate tee pads to each hole. So that's fun. Room down the valley, simple as she goes, to the green at the bottom. I kind of like a starting hole where you just have a nice open big rip or swing or whatever it's called in golf, and it doesn't challenge you too much, it just warms you up. But there's an alternate green even here if we're going for more challenging along with the alternate pin. So that's hole 1, down the valley. Hole 2, the Peninsula Pathway. Nice par 5. With slightly more narrow and demanding landing zones, but still pretty simple. Big long one here. Also there's little bunker hills. I guess you wouldn't really call them bunkers, but the opposite. A helpful little hill that'll keep you on the fairway if you're a little bit off. And you just shoot down the peninsula to a nice open green at the end. Simple as she goes. I like the little hidden cart path along the side here. It has to be very straight right there. Very traditional golf so far. Here at the end we've got a nice restaurant where you can enjoy your infinite ocean. And on to cardiovascular. A simple par 3. But maybe it's a little heart palpitating inducing heart palpitations? Who knows? Not just the shape looks like a heart, but you know, any left or right deviation and you're going in the drink. Also, you got people right here watching you, along with people over here on this side of the course. Simple little par 3. Nice alternate tee pad up here in the trees. Can't really get a good look down in there, but you can imagine having a challenging tunnel to shoot out of into the course. Hole 4, a tunnel shot. It's called the Fibula Gambit. It's par 6. First thing you gotta do, get over through the tunnel, but ideally you choose between playing up short, going up here on the top, rolling down to set yourself up for this gap shot, or going long in one, rolling down here and having to navigate past these trees to your setup shot across onto this tear-shaped green to finish you off. Does it look like a fibula? Maybe. Maybe not. Still. Got your cart path weaving through these trees here. And after all that, you're basically back at the clubhouse. Leg 1 of the so-called Fibula Gambit. Or, you know, the quadrupedal course. Not necessarily. The Fibula Gambit is the clincher on this leg of the course. I like to imagine each leg you could play out of order. So, that's leg 1. On to leg 2. Which, conveniently, if you're just playing in order, goes along here. It's called Arch. I'm sure you can figure out why. Shoot through this arch. Have this other arch in your way for the setup shot, dogleg to the left, in which you don't really want to land either in the bunker or on this swift fairway, as it brings you down into the drink. Would rather do it a couple of these shots did and hyzer slice, whatever the right to left motion is, onto this protected green. Nice and flat here though. Big dog leg. The alternate is shared with hole 8 here. It just removes the first arch's, you know, tunnel shot. A little bit easier probably. Can scoot along here with your little cart. Skirt. And on to hole 6, called Sandy Beans. There's a lot of alternate tee pads on this one. And I'm sure the name makes sense. A lot of fast fairway. Just a nice straight shot here that rolls up and pitch over into the green. Surprised not that many people went into the sand traps. This one, but they're all over the place, and there's a lot of starting options. Little desert themed bar here, and you can cross the bridge and grab yourself food at that restaurant. Nifty. You also share a path here if you're taking your cart up room with hole 10 and around. That sand off your ball here. On to hole 7, called, oops, the Burger Percent Pickle, or hat shaped. Up on the mesa with not a lot of trees, and a lot of dirt. A lot of nice red dirt. kind of a lopsided burger. The green really is in a bowl up here. And up on the mesa you can see a lot of the course. I'm a big fan of that. Hop down here and that's the second leg done. If you're taking your cart along, there's a path here to an immense bridge after your first or second shot. You can climb up, get to it, come back down and drive on through. And it's all level. Look at that. Nice. No tilted cart. Hi, kitty. He wants to say hi. Kinda looks like a drumstick. If you squint. Real hard. Anyways, off to the clubhouse, or off to hole 8. Aptly named The Grove. This is definitely the most cramped and central part of the course, but there's a lot of trees here, so hopefully they provide some protection. Take the alternate pin from before as well, and shoot through all these trees onto this kind of absurd green. A lot of unlucky happenings, maybe? I don't know. Do golfers like that? I think it'd be cool as a disc golfer. Trees are everything to us. Nice little path shared between hole 5 and hole 8 here. And you can grab a snack at this central restaurant in the Grove. Bathed in purple. The next hole is the steep side stair shot, as the land goes into some stair shapes here. Ideally, they'd shoot through this gap here on this steep head. Here you'd have this Anheuser or left to right shape, and here you'd shoot straight, but they like to take this curve here. You've also got this stair here protecting you from the green over there. Pretty cramped, but it fits in there. And you've got some good alternates for a nice par 3. Moving along, say hello to Sandy Beans again, but this time, hole 10. It's the runoff, the bean runoff. A very sloped, fast fairway, which has shots falling down towards the water. It's less sloped here on the top side of this tree, so if you have a perfect shot, hopefully you'll end up like this person, up on the fairway, giving you pretty close access to the green. Still pretty severe slope is the main challenge here. Head back over to the bar if you want. Share a nice cart path with the Sandy Beans. And head on the other way to finish this stint off. Gonna take a left here, pass through these trees, and bam! You're at the farthest point from the clubhouse, which you can see way off in the distance, with another restaurant and bar, even a beach. A nice big open field where I like to imagine sports and recreation, you know? Maybe you can play some soccer here, I don't know. A Topia style game has I like to imagine has lots of activities? I don't know what I'm talking about here. Oh yeah, I forgot I can trace things with that. That's kind of neat. We'll look at that in a sec. Well, 11. The fruit salad. Got this gap to cross. Not so bad on the main tee pad, but a lot scarier on this one. Up to this fairway, where you want to set up right under this tree to make this challenging left to right shot up onto this fairway, which allows you to approach to the green. Too much deviation will land you in the avocado, the lemon, the pear. It's all sand, isn't it? An orange, maybe? An apple? This isn't a fruit, I don't know what that is. But overall, I quite like the look of this hole. Oh yeah. You can even have different hole locations on the green here. After that, we're going to hop over, crossover, get a sneak peek at 18, play hole 12 here, which is the king of the target. Shooting off the top of this teeing area. And I can surmise, you can guess why it's the king of the target. There's a lot of targets here, and they make up the fairway. Miss the targets and you're in the bunker. Not only that, is the green here is up on a hill, so you gotta be precise about how you manage that. Can play a little easier tee shot, not so guarded by these trees and things. You can even play from over here once we get there. I even like to think that you could go and play over to 18's green with this. In any case, a nice little hole 12. If you're following along with the cart, well, I mean, you turn around here, playing hole 11, drive back up, tee off, drive down the shared tunnel of trees here to separate these two fairways, finish out, and I guess you drive back, because who wants to play golf with a cart and then go into wacky crazy land, wacky crazy land? So if you weren't, you could hop over the wall, you know, the fortress wall here, and take a tube, an insane flying transport tube, all the way through this area, over to hole 13. Or, if you're at the clubhouse and wanted to just do that, you could walk down this path and take this slightly hidden entrance, let's say, through the forest and driving green over to the start of the third leg here, hole 13. Also, there's a nice, more secluded field here, away from the clubhouse just a bit. Could do some recreation activities in that open field. But let's be wacky and crazy. So, hole 13. It's the Stone Speedway. Along this path, a bunch of speed boosts can shoot you all the way along the fortress wall. They say they don't need the wicket. They're just going hard in. Speedway. Here we've got a nice little restaurant. Giant sequoia, art everywhere. The hub area of the Crazy Device Land. And one of the more challenging holes, hole 14, called Loop the Mountain. Gotta shoot through this ring of fire up onto this cake lake, I guess, mountain. A perfect shot will actually get there all the way, because you'll shoot through the ring of fire, hit the arrow, loop through, hit the arrow, loop through, hit this arrow, go through the teleporter, come out with the right angle to loop through here, hit this loop, loop through here, go through the wicket, and be right on for right on the green for an easy putt. Does that happen? Yes, once in a blue moon. A lot of times, this also happens where they go through the checkpoint, fall off, try and get back up, and struggle horrifically. It's not a challenge. Or, it's not a challenge, it's quite the challenge to climb this mountain. If you fall off here, on the right side, it's actually mud all down here, and you're just donezo. It's gone. So it's better to fall off to the left in this scenario. That's a lot of craziness happening here. can go ahead and walk down this bridge. There's not really cart paths in this area because of these tubes, the transport. And play through that. Down here, what does it look like? That's correct, pinballer. It's just a gigantic pinball machine that you're trying to shoot to the top of. With the help of the fans, you generally should be okay to almost even shoot all the way past these mega bumpers and avoid falling into the water. Bounce on the pads, shoot through these things, go all the way up top. Everyone landed pretty good. I've seen some pretty bad shots that hit these bumpers and just get all the way bounced down into the drink again. Good luck on that one. Anyways, come on down, and then we have Fort Device. Probably the most challenging and brutal device hole. You've got to shoot through the ring of fire, over all the tubes, to climb each device's stair. Bounce up this one, take the teleporter up here, and your bounce pad is your only hope with tubes, devices, lights all in the way. At least once you get to the top, it's fairly bowl-shaped, so if you make it to the top here, you're in. It's the making it to the top part that's the challenge. You also must take tubes to get to each level. Fort Device. Take tubes over to the restaurant, take tubes to the sitting lounge, tubes, tubes, tubes. This is what I would consider the third leg. And why I consider the course having legs, because if I was a golfer, I could see myself being really happy about this, or not caring at all about this sort of luck-driven style of golf. In any case, after the Fort Device, you can take the secret back entrance to hole 17. Or, let's say you're playing hole 12, and you didn't want to sneak into Device Land if you're playing the course through. You could just exit here, walk your way up, the switchback, and you're also at hole 17. Nice. This is called the signature setup. Back to some normal golf. You gotta set yourself up, hopefully not falling off like this person did. Oh yes, we've got cart paths again, hooray. To a big cliff setup. Downhill shot into this green. Get the perfect setup, we'll have just this epic shot. Boom, right into the green. Too far, you're rolling into this dirt. Way too far, you're falling down the cliff. But look how nasty that shot could be. Tons of downhill elevation onto this green. I like to imagine you could just have a nice little par 3 shot alternate tee here. Bunch of alternate tees here that can shoot there or this way. This land, alternate tees, no thank you. Here, yes please. Also have your cart path with the nice bridge to get to your shot. Come on down to the nice recreational green area. The bar, the beach. Walk around to get your shot. If you're walking, you can go much quicker and up this nice terrained slope to get to the 18th. Which is the joinery. It joins the course together. Also kind of looks like an E. Nice straight shot, lots of rocks and things, giving protection to these golfers. Forcing you to play in this little gap all the way to the green here. It's a little cheater exit, or you can ride on back to that clubhouse that way. can even play over this to this grade and this target around this way. If you don't want to take this sort of scraggly path here. And that's the course. Let's zoom out a bit. And that's the last leg, I would say. This leg is kind of a weird conjoined twin. As you can tell, I haven't even opened my clubhouse. But this whole thing, no golfers. Let's look at it. It's from high altitude, leg 1. Leg 2. I don't know if I'm going too fast or not, but you know. That's how she goes. And that's my course. Thanks for taking a peek. Let's fly by. Oh yeah. I'll upload this onto the Steam Workshop so you can have a peek at it at your own leisure instead of spending 25 minutes listening to me ramble. Okay. Alright, time to actually talk about the game, or review it, I suppose. To start off, I'm going to list my favorite aspects about the game and why I like them. They're not necessarily in order of what I liked, but all of them I had basically no issues with, and I thought were pretty fun. So the first thing, the terrain painting. Painting the terrain with different ground types like fairways, grass, dirt. It's really simple, it's easy to pick up, but it offers so much flexibility and creative freedom to design a hole. I find it to be basically the main hook of the game. It does double duty. One, by being the map for what I'm calling the shot engine, and I'll explain that in a second, and 2, being the foundation for creative building play. So if I'm going to be a bit of a nerd and try and express that formally, in the MDA framework I would consider this the mechanic that's associated with the expression aesthetic, and I personally enjoy the expression aesthetic. It's a great feeling to paint down a bunch of fairway and have what feels like the bulk of your hole done in a few seconds. Then you can start chiseling away and making smaller adjustments, adding things like trees, getting your hole perfected, and it minimizes that sort of blank canvas trap that I think makes starting hard. There isn't much choice overload either, with what feels like just the right amount of options. A couple of ground types even have more in-depth customization. Phenomenal feature. The second thing, as I alluded to before, the shot engine. What I basically mean by this is the whole preview, test feature, and the golfer shots themselves. It's pretty magical that the engine understands the ground type and obstacles in the way, and creates a path to the pin that the golfers take. Not only that, it chooses between multiple shot types, and it can create a variable degree of random deviation from its selected shot, in essence creating a range of skill. Seeing the test on a hole that you're designing with multiple fairways encouraging different skill levels to take different paths is extremely rewarding. I think this is the primary device for feedback also when you're designing a hole. You know, how big to make that gap, how much curve can I have here, does the slope of the ground change, where do I place certain bunkers, all that sort of stuff. You can immediately test and see. The third thing would be object placement. I mean, this feature is extremely intuitive and easy to understand. I don't think I've seen anyone play the game not understand how to place an object, what its restrictions are. You know, it just happens. The placement system is built upon a grid. Placement is on a grid system, yes. It finds a nice balance of constraining you just enough to pull out the creativity. Too much freedom can easily overwhelm you and stone lock you. I know it has for me. And too little is very constrictive. After a decent amount of time, though, I tend to feel like this errs on the constrictive side, but I think it's a fantastic implementation nonetheless. Island creation. Not to be overlooked, it was super easy and fun to get started right away. I really liked being able to mess with the seating of my initial island. There's a surprising amount of variation to be had with a good amount of variable customization. Getting excited looking at and finding interesting formations generated on the island and how that can become an interesting golf hole is really fun. I can also appreciate the efforts taken to, mitigate being overwhelmed. Having default settings and you can just basically accept your way right through. The terrain editing. It's simple enough to do, powerful enough to get what you want done. The option of not breaking nature or buildings is really nice. The confirmation dialogue is also often appreciated, speaking personally there. Also, the little hidden terrain select hotkey is pretty nice. Awesome job there. It can be a bit finicky, but I think this is a nice win. It also interacts with that shot engine. Crazy devices. Things that interact with the shot engine, the golf shots themselves, they gotta be pretty cool. And these are pretty cool, but I don't know, maybe I'm just a little less enthusiastic about them. Despite their wacky nature, I think these are actually quite challenging to use. I just didn't really find it that interesting, or the desire even, to use them that often. They're not really why I'm playing GolfTopia in the first place. But they're cool and they didn't take anything away. Pretty challenging to use correctly, and having a big community in which you can take ideas from and see how the devices can be used to their full potential would be ideal. And this allows for uploading your courses online, so I can see how that would happen. A quick little note for the soundtrack and sound effects. I think unobtrusive, fits the game well. They've got nice juicy sound effects. I have no complaints there. I also think the camera controls and the camera works pretty good. Don't have any complaints there. Cheats. Cheats are so important. Thank you so much for allowing players to play the way they want. I definitely would not have played this game as much as I have, in the ways that I want to without these. This is way more important than it might seem, but these cheats are so good. So fantastic. And now for some stuff that I have some mixed opinions on. So, golfers' thoughts and memberships. I find that the variety of golfer thoughts and their opinions on the course tend to be clever and one of the main enjoyable aspects about having golfers play on your course. They allow you to tweak your design to be able to better suit the needs of your golfers, and are often the main factor in you coming back to improve the design of a hole you've already built. They say nice things about your design, which also feels nice. But they're pretty silly sometimes and urge you to make changes that you otherwise would not want to do. Also, the numbers associated with their thoughts are pretty arbitrary, and I don't know what they mean or why they have them. They're just kind of there. Overall, I like golfers' thoughts though. Golfer thoughts are also the primary driver of awards, which I think are pretty neat. Awards are helpful when you run low on design ideas. Golfer skill. I like the idea of patrons improving over time as you build your course and they play. It's pretty cool to gradually see them improve on the holes you've made. The issue arises when they've gotten past the skill level you've designed the hole for, usually the earlier ones. It can be a bit of a pain to try and fix something you felt you tweaked up just right. I found it frustrating to be working on a hole later in the course, to be hit with issues that did not exist initially on the earlier holes. Redesigning to accommodate them whilst not making it too challenging for new players can be quite difficult. Though I can see this being a draw that some players find interesting and engaging, I really just wanted to be designing new holes and not having to tweak my old holes that I thought were serviceable or even good. It does seem like a challenging aspect to balance, because it's fun to see your golfers improve, but to then have to constantly maintain your course. A lot of these things that I'm talking about, I will go into suggestions I would have in the things I wish for later on. Decorations and theming. I find most of the non-sci-fi props and decorations to be quite nice. Good color variation, placement, rotation, a decent selection of things. This is the rocks, the trees, the stone decorations, the flowers, that sort of thing. They're good. I like them. The issue I have then becomes the sci-fi themed elements. Not only are these required, but I also find them to be pretty ugly if I'm going to be honest. These are the only things we've got. I have to have a clubhouse. If I want to have my golfers visit a bar, use a hoverboard, use even the transport tubes, I have to use these. They also have these little quips around them. Is about the best way I can describe that. Also, it feels like a lot of these things have arbitrary limits. Why can I only have one putting green? I want more than one. The UI and its functionality. To be honest, I think the UI, the icons at least, looks a bit like an early draft. Some of the icons are hit or miss, and the coloring, it just feels a little bit early. I will say, the functionality within the UI is great. Having things located within submenus that pop out, I think it works well. The sliding bars work well, and I think the best functionality comes when painting terrain. You can select whether you want to paint over specific types of terrain or not. Not the biggest deal, but when I'm playing a game for mostly aesthetic reasons, and I see something that's not aesthetic, that's not pretty, I'm gonna whine about it. Great functionality, mediocre art. Playing your courses and tournaments. Playing your course that you designed seems paramount, but it feels kind of lacking. It feels almost there. It feels like a couple iterations, and it could be awesome. I really like how you choose your shot and your line, but that's it. That's all you do. It feels like I'm caddying someone more than I'm playing. Tournaments are where I find myself playing the course the most. They're pretty cool, but once again, it feels like I'm not actually playing, I'm just suggesting. It leaves me wanting way more. And finally, things that I think missed. Stuff that I wasn't really excited about, or I didn't interact with much after the first time I encountered it. So the financial management. To me, it never felt as if this mechanic added anything significant to the game. I understand why it exists, especially early on, to limit new players from building something ridiculous right out of the gate, but it never really felt that fun or engaging. All it did for me was become an artificial gate to construction and design. I suppose some players might enjoy this sort of aspect when the difficulty is cranked up, but it never really did it for me. I understand that it also can be an incentive to design courses that cater to golfers' thoughts and that sort of positive feedback loop, but really, this just felt like a gate to me. Like, oh, I wanted to build something that had a bunch of trees or whatever. I will say there's a fair amount of difficulty customization where editing terrain can cost money and that sort of thing, but it just felt like it was there to be there. It didn't feel like it did much. Golfer pathfinding and biological needs. Now, to me, this just felt like golfers act a bit too much like robots. They move in a set route from tee to hole, or from the tee to their ball to the next shot to the hole to the next tee. And that's it. They just have simple biological need bars that deplete over time, or increase over time, depending on how you look at it. And when they pass the vision radius of a corresponding need fulfiller, these being benches or bathrooms or food or whatever, they just satiate the need and then move on to the next thing. I like the idea of these things creating design requirements for your course, but they don't really allow for any creativity and just feel like checkboxes. Golfers don't seek out a bathroom when they need to go. Their vision radius towards a bathroom doesn't increase. No, they just meticulously march along their path and, oh no, I'm angry if I don't encounter one along the set path. If I wanted to place my restaurant a little bit out of the way, oh well, too bad. That will get zero use. Weeds. Weeds are a strange one, the whole laser defense minigame. I can understand the idea of creating a punishment for negative thoughts, and this does feel like a creative way to do it, but it just feels a bit out of place. It could be pretty cool and add some unexpected elements to people who really enjoy management, but it just felt like another hindrance to what I really wanted to be doing. I wanted to be designing courses, not fighting weeds. The negative feedback loop of this means that it becomes a priority, no matter what you're up to. It just bleeds over and gates your financial progress as well, which I suppose is sort of the point for players who want to play that way. If I'm designing a hole and suddenly there's a weed problem, then that means my money is going down and I have to deal with the weeds instead of design the hole and build these random intrusive laser turrets that I don't want on my course. To be honest, I just don't think the management systems are the selling point of the game, and I don't think they're robust enough to draw players who are looking for that sort of aspect. At least for me, the draw of this game is to design the course, not to manage the course. However, all that said, there's systems in the game that allow me to completely turn off these features and ignore them. I love that. Just the simple cheat, kill all weeds. Beautiful. Beautiful. I could ignore the system entirely. I can just say, no, I don't want weeds. And it works perfectly. So okay, I talked a lot about each system, but it took a lot of effort to not just interject with, do this, do this, do this. So I'm going to do that all here in the wish section. Things that I wish for. So I really want first person walking. I want a camera option that replicates a guest. I want to be able to walk around my course and see it from a golfer's perspective. I want to see sight lines. I want to just take a stroll down my golf course. That would be amazing. And if you're thinking that the game would look bad from being in that first person perspective, you can already zoom in pretty close to everything. It's not going to change. And I think it looks pretty good anyways. I'd love to see a more traditional style golf minigame associated with playing your own course. I think designing and then playing your course is the main draw for me here. And when I'm playing my own course, like I said, it feels like I'm caddying rather than playing. Say in combination with the first-person camera, you choose your line when you're playing your course, and then a simple timing-based minigame like many other golf games have. Determine, the slice and fade of your shot, the power, rather than it just being a random number, I guess. I think that would add way more, even if it's a relatively simple minigame. I'd love alternate tee positions and pin positions, just to have more options with holes. As it currently stands, I make them and just kind of pretend, but as a Topia game, I want the most crazy stuff. If this is supposed to be a Topia style game, let me go wild. I'd love to make the extravagant course that I think about when I'm golfing. Side note, I don't actually golf, I just play frisbee golf, or disc golf. So that's where my golfing experience comes from. I also think it'd be cool for optional hazards, like when a golfer steps up to the tee, they can press a button and a fence pops out of the ground or something. Something that higher skilled golfers could choose the harder tee, maybe, or toggle on weird obstacles, like those crazy devices. That could be pretty sweet. I'd also like just to insert a little thing about the new player experience here, which I think is a pretty positive one overall. Starting with island creation, again, good default settings allow for new users to not have to pay attention to this and just next their way through. Users who want control can modify aspects and see their new island lickety-split. The hint system, I think, is really great. Having the little videos pop up so people don't have to read, getting players to read is pretty hard, and just having the hint system show the video when it's needed, genius. I also really like that it doesn't have a bunch of setup steps. You click through making your island in a couple seconds, you plop down your clubhouse, and bam, you're immediately designing your course. It gets you into the fun of the game as quickly as it can. Excellent decision, in my opinion. And that's my video on GolfTopia. If you made it this far, a big super huge thank you for watching this slightly janky first video of mine. I learned a whole bunch making this, so also hopefully it managed to capture my thoughts about the game somewhat effectively. And once again, thank you so much for watching. Bye!